Good morning, all. I bring you a Leave No One Behind greetings from FUNAAB SDG team. You are welcome to FUNAAB webinar series. Today's presentation is titled SDG and the Impact Ranking, the FUNAAB Intentional Drive. This is the 8th in the series. Coincidentally, all the 7 previous presentations have helped to lay a very good and solid foundation for this discourse. From the maiden presentation of the Vice Chancellor, Professor O.B. Kinde, to the last presentation by the Acting Registrar, Mrs. Daudu, each has addressed at least one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Therefore, the presentation framework will be as follows. We're going to be looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, briefly. Then we look at the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking. Then we look at FUNAAB and the Sustainable Development Goals, especially with respect to research, teaching, stewardship, and outreach. Finally, we will look at going forward. The question that readily comes to mind is, what is sustainable development? The term sustainable development was first proposed by the World Commission on Environment and Development, WCED, in the year 1987, through their report tagged Our Common Future. It therefore defined sustainable development as meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. What then is Sustainable Development Goals? This is also known as global goals. The goals were adopted by all United Nations member states, Nigeria inclusive, in the year 2015. It's a 15-year agenda, and it's a universal call to action, especially to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by the year 2030. We cannot continue using current level of resources, as this will not leave enough for future generations. What do SDG mean, and what do they really need? There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Each of these goals has 17 targets. And if you multiply 17 by 17, you have 169 targets. There are 223 indicators that borders on sustainability, partnership, equity across the world, every community, sufficient resources, and of course, long-term thinking. What then are those 17 Sustainable Development Goals? The first one is no poverty. The second one is zero hunger. The third one is good health and well-being. The fourth one is quality education. The fifth is gender equality. The sixth is clean water and sanitation. And of course, the seventh is clean and affordable energy. SDG 8 talks about decent work and economic growth. SDG 9 talks about the triple I's, talking about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. SDG 10 talks about reduced inequality. SDG 11 talks about sustainable cities and community. SDG 2, the slogan of SDG is Leave No One Behind. Sustainable development, therefore, is the responsibility of every part of society across the world. It cannot be achieved without linkages, especially across the globe, but also between institutions, government, companies, NGOs, and people. The Nigerian government established what is called Office of the Senior Special Advisor to the President on SDG is called OSAP SDG. And they have been going on with sensitization and implementation of some of the program that will make SDG to be easily achievable. One of such documents is Nigeria Sustainable Development Goals Implementation Plan 2020 to 2030. It's a 10-year agenda, navigating the decade of action for the global goals. And for people not to leave people behind, there are documents that have been translated from English to the 3 major languages, the Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. So if you don't hear English, you can always know about Sustainable Development Goals, whether you are Yoruba, you are Igbo, or you are Hausa. So there is no excuse, so nobody is going to be left behind. There are other documents on Agenda 2030, such as Nigeria Design Alternate School Program for out of school children. And also, OSAP collaborated with some organizations. One of such is the SDSN, on what is called FEBU initiatives. And documents on Agenda 2030, such as Nigeria Design Alternate Energy. By the year 2018, I was opportune to be invited by privilege of service as the Vice Chancellor of Landmark University to OSAP in Abuja to their Agrarian Revolution Summit. And the presentation was on maximizing the benefits of agricultural revolution. Cities support the Sustainable Development Goals. It is through research, teaching, outreach, and stewardship. So we are going to be looking at ways in which our university can support the Sustainable Development Goals through collaboration, the promotion of best practices, and publication of data and evidence. In the past, universities were criticized for working too much in isolation, but the Sustainable Development Agenda has pushed for better interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research, as well as international collaboration. And so, the theme is meeting the 2030 global agenda will require partnership. It requires innovation and action. And of course, we are well positioned as higher educational institutions to be part of this solution. University also demonstrated to the world during COVID-19 crisis why our expertise matters and why international collaboration in higher education is needed to solve the world's pressing challenges. Of course, now is the time for the international community to recognize the fundamental importance of higher education to achieving all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And this aim to end poverty, protect the planet, foster gender equality, defend and promote cultures and cultural understanding, and of course, ensure prosperity for all. Therefore, universities, including FUNAAB, must dedicate themselves to helping the world achieve these goals. It was this that made the University of Toronto, Canada, to invite me in the year 2020 to make presentation on their Global Eating Hunger program. And it was tagged the Sustainable Development Goals and Food Security, from zero hunger to global eating hunger. So they have moved away from zero hunger. They are now moving to what is called global eating hunger, because there is an hunger that you cannot see. And so they are already at that level of dealing with it. And ever since, I've been a regular face on their program. I will always appear at the opening ceremony and closing ceremony. The following slides speak for themselves. That was the closing ceremony at the 2020. Then in 2021, we had the opening ceremony on SDG and the Global Eating Hunger Challenge, the Sub-Saharan African Contest. And of course, the closing ceremony, improving nutrition and food security with FUNAAB app. Then the final one, in last year, we have Sustainable Development Goals and the Global Eating Hunger. That was the opening ceremony. Then we had the closing ceremony. And all of these have been put together in what is called a compendium of Professor Olayenju United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, Initiative and Impact. And that is talking about how do we achieve the UN SDG, especially through research, outreach, and stewardship. This is volume 1, because this was produced in 2022, and ever since we have continued, and by God's grace, we have volume 2. Now, if you look at the title, we said the SDG and the impact ranking. The D there is THE, Times Higher Education Ranking. So what connects Times Higher Education with Sustainable Development Goals? The truth of the matter is Times Higher Education Ranking is an international ranking body that has about 4 different rankings. The first one is the regional ranking, such as the Sub-Saharan African. These are based on 5 metrics. And of course, we have the Young University ranking for universities that are less than 50 years in existence, FUNAAB inclusive. Then we have the big one, like the Senior World Cup, the World University ranking that is based on 13 metrics. And finally, they now observe that most universities were not driving sustainable development goals. They were not intentional about it. So the thinking is, can we come up with a ranking that will force university or make them to drive SDG? And that's why they came up with the 4th ranking, and it's called impact ranking. And it's strictly based on sustainable development goals drive. Let's quickly look at each of these rankings. Times Higher Education ranking for regional. The maiden edition was in 2023, that was last year. And it assesses the impact of university in addressing some of the toughest challenges faced in their region. It uses carefully calibrated indicators to provide comprehensive and balanced comparison across 3 vital areas of teaching, research, and societal impact. Coincidentally, our fabulous FUNAAB was ranked as the 2nd best university in Nigeria and 26th in Sub-Saharan Africa out of 1,021 universities that were selected by the Times Higher Education. A big congratulations, therefore, to Mr. Vice Chancellor, the management of the university, and the entire university community. Indeed, the beacons of our fatherland to success we will say, laboring, toiling, and onward we shall ever stay. The 2nd ranking, talking about Young University ranking. It has the list for the world best university that are 50 years old and younger. The table is based on the same 13 performance indicator as that of the Senior World University ranking. But the weightings have been adjusted to give less weight to reputation, because they are just coming up under 50, we call them, so the reputation must not have been so built. So the weight on reputation is less, and that is for the the Young University ranking. Then we have the World University ranking, and that was founded in the year 2004. It provides the definitive list of the world best university based on teaching, research, international outlook, reputation, and more. Ranking is based on 13 metric indicators. And these are, for teaching, they look at the learning environment. And I give kudos to FUNAAB environment. It is 30%. That means FUNAAB can score, just clear the 30% like that. Then we talk about research. In terms of the volume of research, the income that comes through research, and the reputation that has been made on our research, and that is 30%. Then you now talk of citations, especially from the research publications, and that is what is called research influence. That is also 30%. Then you have international outlook. How many of our staff are international? How many of our students are international? How many of our research collaborators are international? Then the score is 7.5%. Of course, finally, we have what is called the industry income. That is where the knowledge transfer comes in. So the big question is, how much of such industry income have we attracted to the university? And the score is 2.5%, making 100%. Now, Times Higher Education World University Ranking early this year declare our fabulous FUNAAB first in Africa, talking about ranking of University of Agriculture, first in Africa and 7th globally. That was not a small move, because we're talking of 2,671 entries from 1,906 universities across 108 countries and regions, and yet FUNAAB came first. That's a big congratulations to us once again. We moved from second best in Nigeria to first in Africa. Can we give it to FUNAAB? Now, why we are here, the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking. It was Peter Okebukola, a former NUC secretary, that stated in one of his presentations that university impact ranking of Times Higher Education are the only global performance tables that assess university against the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. THE uses carefully calibrated indicators, and the first edition was in 2019. Global performance tables came up in 2015. That assessed between 2015 and 2019, universities were not driving it seriously. But by the time impact ranking came, and then we have 450 universities putting in from 76 countries of the world. Each SDG has a series of metrics that are used to evaluate the performance of the university in that particular goal. Any university, therefore, that provides data on SDG 17 and at least 3 other SDG is included in the overall ranking. So for this year ranking, it's like a WAEC exam. The syllabus will come up the previous year, then the result will come out this year. So for 2024 ranking, there is a full methodology for the impact ranking. It is a 190-page document. It is tagged impact ranking methodology. So university needs to study this document and then make their submission, and then the result will come up, I think, around June this year. So the metrics are, the goal 17 is compulsory. It is 22%. Then you now submit for any other 3 out of the remaining 16. And of course, FUNAAB as a University of Agriculture has a relevance in more than 12 of the Sustainable Development Goals. So it was easy for FUNAAB to pick the best 3 and even submit more, because remember, it's not a maximum of 4. It's saying at least 4. Partnership for the goal is compulsory, any other 3, but you can even submit for all if you have the capacity to do so. For part of the exploit that we made, while I was the Vice Chancellor of Landmark University, the university put in for the ranking, and to the glory of God, we came 5th in Nigeria. And by the time I was appointed the Pioneer Vice Chancellor in Philomath University, I also tried to start it, but you know, the university is just coming up. But we make sure that we start that foundation on the basis of sustainable development goals. Then we also have a university in Abuja that God has helped us to make impact in, and that's a Veritas University. Having all of this, coming back home, our university now gave me that honor of leading a team of erudite scholars for our Sustainable Development Goals in FUNAAB. The Vice Chancellor inaugurated our team on August 2023, and ever since, it has been forward ever. So we have had sensitization to the university community, what we are doing, what is expected of us, and of course, our team, the Director of Research and Innovation and Partnership, that's DRIP, then the Director of Academic Planning. Then we have 40 of us in all that are driving this. Then FUNAAB has designed our SDG Central banner and has been conspicuously placed at the University Ceremonial Building. Then we have tried to teach our students with respect to Sustainable Development Goals. Then submissions have been made by the university, and we are expecting good results any moment from now. Let's quickly, just briefly now, look at what is expected of us in some of these goals. There are 17 of them, as we said, but SDG 17 is compulsory. For all the 17, there is a common session, 1.1, 2.1, 3.1. All the 0.1 sessions are basically for research. And they will not come to any university to ask for what you are doing in the area of research. It is your publication, especially in Scopus, that they will use. But the other one, for example, when you are talking of no poverty, remember, even our nation, Nigeria, has a ministry for research, humanitarian and they will not come to any university. So we are talking of what's the proportion of low-income students that are receiving financial aid to attend our university. You want to look at the number of students? Then you look at what is FUNAAB University Anti-Poverty Program, being specific to FUNAAB now. What are our targets to admit students from the bottom to financial deciles? Then we look at the graduation completion targets. So these are specific, and that's why I said FUNAAB intentional drive. So if you want to drive SDG, you have to be intentional about it, because you already have a syllabus. You can't go outside the syllabus. What we are doing is FUNAAB is doing very well, but we now need to look at which of the activity of the UNAAB is for which of the goals. Then we look at SDG 2. We made submission on that, of course. We are University of Agriculture. We should be addressing zero hunger. So they want to look at the metric of campus food waste. And then how do you measure our waste? Talking about food waste. Then what is the proportion of food wasted, discarded per person on campus? It will surprise to people that they want to know about the waste. Then we talk of the proportion of graduates in agriculture and aquaculture, including sustainability aspect. If we say we are University of Agriculture, how many of our graduates are in that particular line? So we are looking at number of students who are studying any aspect of food sustainability. What's the number of graduates? What's the number of graduates from a relevant agri courses like agric engineering and other? Then we look at SDG 4. Of course, we are a university. We are talking of quality education. And so they are looking at number of graduates who gain primary school teaching qualification and all of that. Then the partnership for the goal talks about the proportion of all the SDG research with international co-authorship, relationship with NGOs. So we want to look at who are the people that have direct involvement or input into the university SDG or even government SDG policy. So these are things that we need to look at. Then we need to critically look at our publications and the outlets where we have this. So details of this we will have, because this PowerPoint will be circulated within the university community. In rounding up, looking at the going forward now, let me say there is more to ranking than all the stated parameters by Times Higher Education. It's not only about times higher education. Any university should at least provide the basic necessity that is expected of higher education institution in the 21st century. We can set benchmark with respect to basic infrastructure, standard university culture, as was delivered in one of these webinar series, academic and administrative, strong and relevant research focus. University management has just put up a committee to monitor what kind of researches we are carrying out. So are they solving societal problems? Are there strong ties with the industry? And are we dogged about the grant approach? Then attending to the issues above automatically will give us mileage in webometric ranking. It will also give us mileage in even repository ranking. So it's not just about SDG ranking times higher education ranking. The spillover effect we will have on webometric and even repository, which is therefore start to contend with world-class university, world-class recognition through a combination of the time higher education world ranking and the SDG drive. I therefore say welcome on board, achieving the sustainable development goal. Be intentional about it, be accountable, and be passionate about it. For us in FUNAAB, I'm beckoning on us to own it, embrace it, and run with it. Appreciation. I want to quickly appreciate our dynamic and result-oriented Vice Chancellor, Professor Obi Kinde, for this opportunity that is given to us in our team to drive the sustainable development goals in the university. I also want to thank our host of this webinar series, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics. I also thank the Deputy Vice Chancellor Development, the Registrar and other management staff, the university community. I want to thank the ICTREC, the director and every crew there, the Director of Public Relations and his team, then the FUNAAB Central SDG team. I want to appreciate you all. And for all the 17 Sustainable Development Goal team leads and our secretary, we really appreciate you. And for the university community, we want to thank you for this opportunity. I therefore beckon on you, staff and students, to join the VC in the drive of moving FUNAAB to limelight of global relevance. Thank you all for listening. Okay, there is a question that just came in. How can those staff that are not teaching be available on international realm as respect to SDG ranking? That is the essence of having all of our goals being in team. We have 17 teams. We have a team leader, we have secretaries, and we have members. The members are not limited to academic. It's both for academic and non-teaching staff. And so you identify with the area where you are relevant, and that will help you to know which of these goals you can join. Here elsewhere, while I was in Landmark University, I made sure that we have 3. Every staff belongs to 3. You rank it, and then you look at the best 3, and then you'll be part of it. And that makes the university to come up. I believe here also in FUNAAB, we are already doing that. They are already having meetings all over the place. Once again, we want to thank you. And for SDG and us, it is a leave no one behind message. Thank you, and God bless.